It has been months already that Tina and her husband, Arnold, were facing some difficulties at a relation level. None of them remember very well how they ended up in that situation. There was, simply, no love anymore, no affection. They would sleep together as friends. The morning after they would just do what they have been doing during their 29 years of marriage. Having breakfast together, preparing their respective meals, checking whose turn was to do the groceries and run a few errands. They would kiss goodbye on each cheeks and leave for work. Monotony came in their lives to stay. Forever. They already tried couple therapy and counseling, but none of the 4 specialists visited made it work for them. They were at a point in time whether they had to accept to live as such, or to leave and try to be happy again. It was not unknown that they both thought of leaving. However, this inner, mysterious force kept on stopping them from doing it. Time passed and none of them would say a word. It seemed that they both accepted the fact that that was the miserable life that was left for them. Except one day, Tina decided this was enough. She thought that if they were going to live like that, at least they should have some fun. She promised herself that, once a week, she'd surprise Arnold with a funny dress he would never expect. Friday arrived and Tina was ready for it. When Arnold entered home, he just asked for Tina, as he did that for 29 years in a row. Tina? He would go. But Tina didn't answer this time. Tina? Arnold tried to shout. Bah! Tina, who was dressed as a ghost, shouted at him jumping from the back of the closet. It scared Arnold so much that he fell to the floor. Tina couldn't stop laughing, and Arnold too, in the end. They talked a bit more than usual that night. During the following week everything was as lately. Silence, superfluous conversations, basic food and work. On Saturday, Arnold went to change the tires of Tina's car, since it was decided years ago it was his duty. On the way home, he saw several thank you signals here and there randomly placed all over the traffic lights and posts. When he arrived at the garage, the door had a huge cardboard saying big thank you for changing the tires once more, and a big heart was painted at the bottom part. Arnold smiled from ear to ear. As soon as he got in, he kissed Tina in a different way that he used to a couple of weeks ago. They talked a bit more than usual that night. And also, in bed. Another week passed by and more words started to be exchanged, a smile here, a gesture there. Things started to be noticed by Tina, but not yet by Arnold. He had been always the slow one, especially when it came to feelings. That week, Tina cooked a special meal one of the nights. When Arnold asked why, Tina just answered that she felt happy that day. When Arnold woke up on Wednesday the following week, he noticed Tina was not in bed anymore, and that was weird since normally, he would wake up always earlier than her. He went downstairs, directly to the kitchen, and found an entire breakfast prepared. But no Tina was present. Only a note saying, if you want to know where to find happiness, have breakfast first and then follow the green arrows. Arnold got suddenly excited and felt like a kid while following the arrows, since he decided to leave the breakfast behind. He arrived at the living room, where all curtains were closed and there was almost no light. Except his favorite song list began to play. A projector started to beam a few pictures. They were pictures of the early days when Tina and Arnold met. How they went into the first dates. The day they moved into that house. The wedding. The first trip to Bahamas together. The day George, their only child, was born. As soon as the music was fading out, Tina appeared from behind with a fancy dress and whispered to his ear, "Wear something elegant, I'm taking you out for lunch at our restaurant. Don't worry about work, everything is arranged and your boss knows." Arnold couldn't retain the tears of happiness from his face. How long was it since they went on a date? How long was it since he felt anything? Arnold pulled a suit and a tie from his closet. He couldn't believe the last time he wore that outfit was more than a year ago already. He went to the bathroom to check for his appearance and found a red lipstick written message in the mirror that said, "Don't waste your time looking for imperfections, you look gorgeous as you have always been." Tina was waiting downstairs for him. When they got out to the car, Tina took Arnold's place and decided to drive. "I almost forgot how to drive," she said. They both laughed, they both looked at each other and, without saying a word, they chatted about everything. At the restaurant, they had the most amazing dinner in years. They laughed, they shared memories, they ate and they went back home. That was a night of passion. Love. Caresses. Cuddling. Arnold couldn't express enough how grateful he was that Tina did all that for him. 2 years after that night, Tina went home from the supermarket and couldn't find Arnold. As soon as she opened her closet, Arnold shouted at her, scaring her off and making her laugh as almost every day during the past 2 years. They were finally happy. Again. And all it took was for one person to make a tiny extra effort. Since that day, Tina and Arnold were as happy as ever. And they restarted saying I love you every night at sleep time. They would melt in a hug, and they both would remember how lucky they were for having each other.